kids! Hey, it's me, Max Thunder. That's right, Adventure Man, international explorer, wilderness pioneer, and lover of all things of the outdoors. Did I ever tell you about my pet? I got a pet wolf. I named him White Fang. You know what? Jack London wrote a book about him. Hey, it is so good to be with you today because guess what? I almost didn't make it. See, last week, I was on a hike. It was an epic quest. I was hiking in search of Bigfoot. That's right, the hide-and-seek champion of the world. I was gonna find Bigfoot. I climbed mountains. I explored caves. I jumped off of waterfalls. I climbed to the top of trees. I hiked 3,000 miles in the search for Bigfoot. And you know what? I found him. I found him working at an REI in Salem. He helped me buy a tent. It was awesome. But you know what? As awesome as that was, it's not nearly as awesome as what today is gonna be. We've got the teaching, we got the crafts, the games, the memory verse, and of course, we're gonna kick it off with some worship.
I wanna scream it out from every mountain top. Your goodness knows no bounds. Your goodness never stops. Your mercy follows me. Your kindness fills my life. Your love amazes me. And I'll sing because you are good, and I'll dance because you are good, and I'll shout because you are good. You are good to me. And I'll sing because you are good, and I'll dance because you are good, and I'll shout because you are good. You are good, good to me. Good to me. Nothing and no one comes anywhere close to you. The earth and oceans deep only reflect this truth. And in my darkest night, you shine as bright as day. Your love amazes me. And I'll sing because you are good, and I'll dance because you are good, and I'll shout because you are good. You are good to me. And I'll sing because you are good, and I'll dance because you are good, and I'll shout because you are good. You are good, good to me. Good to me. And with a cry of praise, my heart will proclaim that you are good, that you are good. And in the sun and rain, my life celebrates that you are good, that you are good. And I sing because you are good, and I'll dance because you are good, and I'll shout because you are good. You are good to me. And I'll sing because you are good, and I'll dance because you are good, and I'll shout because you are good. You are good, good to me. Good to me.
Hello everyone. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever had those times in your life where you feel like, no matter what happens, it just seems to go wrong? Well, our story today is about a man who experienced that in his life. That's Joseph. But before we get there, I want to back up just a little bit. Now, we've been talking about Abraham the last couple of weeks, and then his son Isaac. And then we're going to go fast forward a little bit because Abraham had his son Isaac, and then Isaac had a son named Jacob. And then today we're going to talk about one of his sons, which was Joseph. So we're going to start there, and we're going to talk about Joseph and his story. But to do so, I've got some paper here, and I thought maybe you could get your paper too and follow along with me because there's so much to this story. I thought it'd be fun to draw it as we go along. Now, if you get out just a regular white piece of paper, and I'm going to show you, you're going to fold it, and that will make the boxes that we're going to use to draw the different sections of our story as we go along. So take your piece of paper, fold it in half long ways, like Miss Nicole would say, hot dog style. And then we're going to be folding it in half again. And then one more time, folding it in half again. And when you unfold it, what you'll see is that you have 8 different sections, just like mine up here. So I want to talk about his family tree, like we were just discussing, Abraham and Sarah. So let's put them here at the top. I'm going to put an A and an S for Abraham and Sarah. And then they had a son. What was his name? It was Isaac. So under here, we're going to put an I for Isaac. And then Isaac had a son. And he actually had more than one son. But the one we're going to talk about today, his name was Jacob. Now, there's lots that happened with Jacob in his life. And we're not going to talk about those things today. We're going to skip down to his son. And we're going to have actually a long line here because he had more than one. He actually had 12 sons. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are all his sons. And so if we were to make little pictures of them, we would draw 12 of them here, all the way to the end. And I'm going to put one right here that we're going to focus on today. So imagine I drew all these guys here. Focus on today is Joseph. Now, he got something very special from his dad, Jacob, because Jacob loved him more than any of his sons, so much that he really showed a lot of favor for Joseph. And the thing that he gave him was this beautiful colored coat. So I'm going to draw him with a big robe here. Imagine that. Lots of beautiful colors that this beautiful coat must have been. Now, can you imagine what the other brothers must have felt when Joseph got this beautiful coat? Well, they weren't very happy. There were some other things that happened next that they weren't happy about either. And let me read them to you. We're in the end of Genesis. So this is going to be our last story in the book of Genesis that we've had so much fun in so far and learned so many things. It's just a rich book of the Bible. And this is going to be our last section in Genesis. We're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 37, and I'm going to be reading verse 6 now. Joseph said, "Listen to the dream I had. We were in a field tying bundles of wheat together. My bundle stood up, and your bundles of wheat gathered around it and bowed to it." His brother said, "Do you really think you're going to be king over us?" His brothers hated him even more because of his dreams and what he had said. And then Joseph had another dream, and he told his brothers about it. He said, "Listen, I had another dream." I'm not sure if this is a good idea to tell him the other one, right? "I saw the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowing down to me." Oh, goodness. Now, Joseph did not make his brothers happy when he told them about these dreams. Not only was he the favored son and had this beautiful coat, but now he was saying they were going to bow down to him. They didn't like that so much. But let's draw some pictures here to remind us of this story. So I'm going to draw the wheat by doing some lines like this and then some lines out to the bottom like that. That's going to remind us of the wheat. What else was his dreams about? He had a second dream, right? It was the moon and the sun bowing down to him. So I'm going to draw those. And then there were the stars. There were, how many of them? There were 11 of them, one for each of the brothers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. To remind us that these dreams that Joseph had. Now, if we know the story of Joseph, it's some foreshadowing of what's going to happen, right? But his brothers didn't know that at the time, and it just made them super mad. So they needed to do something about it, and they decided that they were going to kill him. Crazy story. But Reuben, one of the brothers, decided, hey guys, that's not such a good idea. I don't think we should kill him. How about we just get rid of him? And so they had the idea to throw him in a pit. So I'm going to draw a pit here. Go ahead and draw with me. I'm going to make a little bit of shading here so you can see, like, this is a big, deep pit. And they threw him right inside of the pit. Poor Joseph. What a hard time he must have had. He got thrown in the pit by his brothers. He was probably devastated to know that they hated him so much and wanted to get rid of him like that. And then the brothers, they took his beautiful coat, and you know what they did? They ripped it up and they put some animal blood on it and they showed it to their dad, Jacob. And Jacob grieved because he knew this mess meant only one thing, that his son was dead. And so he grieved the loss of Joseph. Meanwhile, as Joseph was in the pit, there were some travelers coming by, and the brother said, hey, I know, let's sell him. Let's make some money off of this deal. So that's exactly what they did. They sold him to the traveling groups for some coins. So I'm going to draw some coins here, little circles here to show the coins that his brothers received for Joseph. So Joseph was now sold as a slave. These travelers would then take him to a long way away, a far away land that we know as Egypt. So I'm going to draw some of our pyramids because we know that in Egypt there are pyramids. And let's make little footprints of him going off to Egypt. So he was sold as a slave in Potiphar's house in Egypt. So poor Joseph was missing his dad, knowing his brothers hated him, and now he's working as a slave in Potiphar's house. Potiphar's wife got mad at Joseph and decided they were going to throw him in jail. So our next picture is going to be of a jail. Let's draw some lines here. And these are the bars in jail. And let's draw Joseph there in the middle. He is now in jail. Now at this point, I wonder what Joseph might have been thinking. He's like, I got sold as a slave, and now I'm in jail? Where is God in all of this? What is he up to? What if Joseph would have given up on God at that point? Something is going on here. God is still there. And even if we don't see him, doesn't mean he isn't working, right? Because sometimes we don't see the good things or the things that are being done in the background, but God knows, and he's behind it all. So let's continue with our story. So Joseph, there he is in jail. And while he's in prison, he met two specific people that we want to talk about. One was a cupbearer and one was a baker. So let's draw a cup to remind us of this guy. Now, each of these guys had some dreams, and they wanted to know what they meant. And Joseph said, hey, I can help you. God has given me insight into dreams. Now, it wasn't Joseph. It was God, right? It was God telling him what the dreams meant. So they told him his dreams, and he was able to say what God had revealed to him where those dreams were about. And you know what? Sure enough, they came true. And so Joseph said, remember me when you go. Remember me to tell Pharaoh who I am and about me. And the cupbearer said, sure, I'll do that. Well, he forgot right away. He didn't remember to even say what Joseph had done and what God had given him the ability to do, to interpret these dreams. Until one day, 2 years later, he remembered. The Pharaoh told his dream to Joseph and explained that he had this dream with 7 fat cows and 7 skinny cows. And he had no idea what it would mean. So let's draw our cow. Let's do a round circle here. And let's draw our cow to remember the dreams of Pharaoh. And we'll put a little, let's do an eye here too. And let's do some spots. All right, there's our cow. It represented 7 years of great harvest, followed by 7 years of famine. So I'm going to put a big 7 here, and let's talk about what is a famine. Well, famine is when there's a shortage of food because the crops are no longer producing. And so there were 7 years where there's going to be a lot, and then 7 years where there's not going to be anything. And so Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of collecting food and grain for those 7 years so that they would be ready. So fast forward, Joseph does it. He does an amazing job, and they've got a whole bunch of food ready to go for the famine. And the famine happens. When it does, Jacob, remember him back up in Canaan? He tells his other sons, he says 10 of them, to go down and try to get some food because they didn't have any. And so they went down and they saw Joseph, and Joseph knew right away who they were. But guess what? They didn't even recognize him. He was now in charge of everything, and they certainly were not expecting him to be the one in charge, right? So Joseph said to them, "Come close to me." When the brothers came close to him, he said to them, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold as a slave to go to Egypt. Now don't be worried or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. God has sent me here ahead of you to save people's lives." Awesome. All right, and we have one more verse here. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. "You meant to hurt me," he's speaking to his brothers. "You meant to hurt me, but God turned your evil into good to save the lives of many," which is being done. Joseph recognized that God was at work even when he couldn't see it. Behind the scenes, God was working all the way. So we're going to have one more picture here of Joseph, and we're going to draw him as happy. Here's like an Egyptian sort of headpiece he might have worn. He has forgiven his brothers, and he's invited them all to come, all of Jacob's family, to come down to Egypt and to live there and to be able to eat plenty of food. And so that's the story of how all of Jacob, which his name was changed to Israel, came down together to Egypt, and then they were there. Now, the things we want to remember from this story are, number one, God never stopped working in Joseph's life, did he? He was always working, even when he didn't see it. Number two, God keeps his covenants. Because if you remember the covenant he made with Abraham, God needed to make sure that his covenant was kept and that the line of Abraham, his sons, Isaac, Jacob, and then Joseph and all the other sons were alive and preserved. Can you imagine if Joseph hadn't collected that food, if he hadn't listened to God along the way? Well, his brothers and his family wouldn't have had any food to eat. So God keeps his promises. And this is a pattern of how he works in the future. He wanted to show us in this story, we have so many details and such a great amount of time spent on one person's life, right? But to show us what was to come, that he would come again. Another prince, right? Like Joseph, but one that would come once and for all of us and show us the pattern of forgiveness and love, and that he can be trusted through all circumstances, even when we don't see it. Let's pray. God, we thank you so much for Joseph and his story. Thank you for the book of Genesis and everything we've learned. And we come before you today thankful, with thankful hearts that you are the one that orchestrates this big story that we are a part of, and that we can walk with you trusting and knowing that even if it doesn't look like things are going the right way, that you will make good out of all the bad, and that you have a plan. Thank you, God. And all God's kids said, amen.
Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be terrified, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Wherever you go. Let's do that again. Have I not? Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be terrified, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Wherever you go. Wherever you go.
Wherever you go?
Wherever you go.
Wherever I go?
Wherever you go.
Wherever you go.
Wherever you go. Wherever you go. That's it. Joshua 1:9.
Hi friends, Teacher Nicole here. Today we talked about Joseph. He had such a busy life, so I'm giving you a couple of options. First option is, Joseph, when he was having the dreams and it made his family angry. Second option, Joseph and his coat of many colors. So let's just get started and let's just see how we go. So this one we'll start off with, look, he's talking about his dreams. You guys had any dreams recently? I feel like I have crazy dreams all the time right now. So after you color with all of your coloring utensils, the craft, you can start cutting, say it with me, along the dotted line. Joseph had such a crazy life. First, he started having dreams. Then his brothers got jealous because of how much their father loved him. Cut along these dotted lines too. They were so jealous of the love of their father that they sold their brother into slavery, but not first. First, they were gonna kill him. Can you imagine how scary that was? I am so glad that our memory verse this month is to be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That is the perfect verse for Joseph. He went to Egypt. God was with him. Then he was falsely accused of something. God was with him. Oh my goodness. And then, what else? What happened next? Do you remember? He got put in charge, practically, of the whole kingdom of Egypt. And God was with him. He was with him every step of the way. And what his brothers meant to do, because they were jealous and they meant for harming, and instead, God used Joseph to save all of the children of Israel. It's just such an amazing story. Okay, so, I finally finished cutting things out. So when you finished cutting these out, then you take your glue or your tape. And obviously, I can't wait to see what your pictures look like because, friends, this is the fun glue. It's the purple glue. I loved that when I was your age. Oh man, so we're gonna glue that, and we're gonna glue that, and there you go. He's telling his story to his brothers. Then, if you don't wanna do that one, you can do this one. You're gonna cut along the dotted line. You know what? We should even make Joseph a little puppet. That would be fun. You're gonna cut out his coat after you color it. What colors do you think his coat was? I think it was all the colors, but I also don't know if it was stripes. Sometimes I think, what if it was this really intricate, artistic coat, where maybe there were scenes of stars or nature or just colorful patterns. I don't know. I wish I could see it. Maybe one day when we're in heaven, we can ask God about it and we can say, what did his coat look like? Really, please tell us, show us, who knows? One of my teachers used to say, I hope there's a video camera like DVDs that we can watch in heaven of everything that happened in the Bible. Wouldn't that be cool if we could watch movies? Okay, so you take your coat, you put them on here. Oh, I was just thinking, you could also make an older Joseph, and you could put him in jail, and you could put him as in charge of everything in Egypt. And then you could put, he had such an emotional life. He saw his brothers for the first time and he had to hold it together. And then he kind of tricked them. And then they were all together finally. Oh, such a happy ending. Anyway, you be creative today, okay? I love you. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.
In our story today, we heard about how God redeemed all the things that happened to Joseph. All the bad things, he was able to turn to good. Well, we're going to do something kind of like that, or that reminds us of that today in our activity. If you're with a group of people, or you can do this by yourself as well, I'm going to have a series of scenarios that are going to come up on screen. Now, I want you to pick one person that's going to act them out. The rest of you, don't look at the screen. That one person's going to see the scenario, and then just like charades, you're going to act it out, and everyone else is going to try to guess what it is. Now, keep in mind, these are stories that can have a redemption, like something maybe went wrong and good can come out of it, just like in our story with Joseph. Have fun.
Families, as you know, for the month of October, we are collecting different items for families in need that have experienced hardship during the wildfires. And we would love for you to bring these items in on Wednesdays from 9 to 3:30. You can drop them off right inside the church entrance. There'll be a place for you to drop those off. So here are some items that we're collecting. One is educational items for kids like flashcards. Also, school supplies or craft supplies. We've got markers, paints, glue. These would be really fun items for kids to get. And then also they're asking for toothpaste and kids' socks. So if you've got any of these items or you can pick them up from the store this week, it would be great for you to drop them off the church on Wednesday. We would really appreciate it. All right, have a great week. Thanks.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul.
Not my shoe.
I got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Good. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. All right, I've got some love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in